Hello and welcome to the English Story Nook. We are so glad to have you with us today. Today, we're diving into a story about a woman's journey of self-discovery and empowerment. You will learn about how a series of small moments can lead to a big change, and the importance of listening to your own voice, even when it is quiet. Before we begin, if you enjoy our stories and want to support what we do, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider buying us a coffee. The link is in the description below. Every little bit of support helps us continue creating wonderful content for English learners like you. And now to the story. There's no U-turn on the Overground. The Overground train rattled, its rhythmic clatter a familiar soundtrack to Sabrina's life. She stared out at the blur of London's rooftops, a gray, indistinct landscape that mirrored her own feelings. Beside her, Rolf was scrolling through his phone, his thumb moving with a relentless, almost aggressive speed. He was handsome, no one could deny that, with a sharp jawline and eyes that could be incredibly warm one moment and icily distant the next. It was this volatility that had once drawn her in, mistaking it for passion. Now, it just felt like walking on a tightrope, a constant, draining performance to maintain equilibrium. "Did you see this?" he asked, not looking up. He showed her a screen, a post from her friend, Beza, at a gallery opening. "Looks like fun. Weren't you invited?" The question was casual, but it landed with a familiar sting. It was a subtle art Rolf had perfected, making her feel small, excluded, and dependent on him for her social life. He often used these tactics to undermine her confidence, making her question her own worth and relationships. "I was busy," she lied, the excuse tasting like ash in her mouth. The truth was, she had been waiting for him to decide on their evening plans, a decision that never came. His control was a quiet, creeping thing, a slow erosion of her independence. He would often disparage her friends, calling them frivolous or uninteresting, until she started to believe it herself. This constant criticism was designed to isolate her, to make him the center of her world. It was a classic form of emotional manipulation, and she was finally starting to see it for what it was. The inciting incident came in the form of a notification on her own phone. It was a message from Antoine, a former colleague, congratulating her on a freelance design project she'd completed. It was a small victory, but it was hers alone. When she showed Rolf, his reaction was lukewarm. "It's a decent start, I suppose," he'd said, his tone dismissive. "But don't get ahead of yourself. The freelance world is brutal." His words were meant to undermine her achievement, to keep her aspirations in check. But this time, something shifted. A quiet defiance began to bubble up inside her. Later that week, Sabrina found herself at a networking event for creative professionals, an event she'd almost talked herself out of attending. She was standing alone, nursing a drink, when a woman with a warm smile approached her. "You're Sabrina, right? I saw your work for the Art for All campaign. It was brilliant." The woman introduced herself as Heidi, a project manager at a design firm called Valinorium Creatives. The name, a blend of an invented, elegant root and a clear industry term, sounded both innovative and established. Heidi's genuine enthusiasm was a stark contrast to Rolf's constant, subtle disparagement. They talked for over an hour, and for the first time in a long time, Sabrina felt a spark of her old self, the ambitious, confident woman she'd been before Rolf. The conversation was a catalyst for change, a reminder of her own potential. The next day, Rolf's volatility was on full display. He was in a dark mood, and everything she did seemed to irritate him. He criticized her for being distant, for not paying him enough attention. The argument escalated, his voice growing louder, his words more cutting. He accused her of being ungrateful, of not appreciating everything he did for her. It was a familiar script, one she'd played a part in too many times. But this time, she didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just stood there, a strange sense of calm washing over her. The emotional storm had finally passed, and she was left with a clear, unshakable certainty. She had to leave. The constant need to appease him, to manage his moods, was a burden she could no longer carry. It was a pernicious cycle, and she was determined to break it. The decision, once made, felt like a weight lifting from her shoulders. She spent the next few days making quiet preparations, packing a bag with her most important belongings, securing a place to stay with her friend, Beza. She felt a sense of empowerment she hadn't experienced in years. It was a quiet revolution, a reclaiming of her own life. The thought of the confrontation with Rolf was terrifying, but the thought of staying was even more so. She knew he would try to manipulate her, to make her feel guilty, but she was ready. She had to extricate herself from this toxic situation, no matter how difficult it would be. The final confrontation was as difficult as she had imagined. Rolf was initially incredulous, then angry, then pleading. He promised to change, to be better. He told her she was making a huge mistake, that she would be lost without him. But his words were hollow, a desperate attempt to maintain control. She saw through the manipulation, the false promises. "I need to do this for me, Rolf," she said, her voice steady. "I need to find myself again." The process to extricate herself was painful, but necessary. The pernicious nature of their relationship had become so clear to her. Leaving was not just an act of defiance, it was an act of self-preservation. She felt a growing sense of empowerment with every step she took toward the door. A few weeks later, Sabrina was on the Overground again, but this time, everything felt different. The city outside the window was no longer a gray, indistinct blur. It was a vibrant, sprawling landscape of possibilities. She was on her way to a meeting with Heidi at Valinorium Creatives, a potential job on the horizon. Her phone buzzed, but it wasn't a message from Rolf. It was a text from Beza, a funny meme that made her laugh out loud. She was rebuilding at her life, one piece at a time. The journey was far from over, but she was moving forward. There was no U-turn on the Overground, and there was no turning back for her. The constant need to appease his every whim was a thing of the past. The change in her life had been a catalyst for a newfound sense of freedom and self-worth. She was finally free. That's the end of our story for today. It's a powerful reminder about the importance of self-worth and finding your own path. Have you ever had an experience that helped you grow as a person? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Remember to check the description box for helpful resources to continue your practice. Thank you for joining us at the English Story Nook. Keep practicing, stay curious, and we look forward to seeing you in our next story. Happy learning!